read it or skip it? That's the question picking off this deep dive.
Exactly. We're digging into the source material you've shared, excerpts, summaries, analyses,
Yeah.
all focused on the maddest obsession, addictive personalities, and hidden desires.
Right. And our mission today is really to unpack what these specific sources tell us about this book.
Yeah, we're looking at the insights, the story elements presented in your material. Think key characters, their struggles, the main themes driving it all, according to this analysis.
Will be your guides through what your materials highlight.
And the sources you gave us, they jump right in, don't they? Highlighting obsession, secrets, betrayal.
Oh, yeah. And that really messy line between love and control. It definitely sets the stage for, well, an interesting look at this story.
Absolutely. The sources promise a lot of intense emotion, high-stakes drama, for sure.
Okay, so let's get into the main players the source material introduces. We've got Christian Allister and Gianna Russo, who becomes Gianna Marino later on.
Right, starting with Christian. The material paints him as, well, really complex. He's got this addictive personality, deeply ingrained.
The sources are pretty clear on that, mentioning his struggles with control, obsession, stuff that apparently comes out even in therapy sessions mentioned in the text.
Exactly, and his FBI job, the analysis we have suggests it's like a thin veil, you know?
A facade.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Trying to contain the more chaotic stuff inside him. And central to that chaos is his fixation on Gianna.
She apparently captivates him without even knowing it, becoming the focus of this internal fire beneath what the sources call a cold exterior.
Yeah, fire beneath the ice kind of thing. And this path he's on, the material specifically calls it a journey towards redemption and healing.
That phrase really stands out, doesn't it? Redemption and healing. It suggests, despite the darkness, there's an intended arc there.
A powerful hook, especially for a character described with so much internal struggle. Okay, so Gianna Russo.
Her life sounds pretty tumultuous, based on these sources. Ensnared in deception is the phrase used.
Yeah, and her marriage to Antonio Marino, it's framed purely as a strategic escape. Calculated, not love.
But her heart's torn, the material says. And her interactions with Christian are described as fraught with tension and unspoken longing.
Instantly complicated, right? The sources call her situation a dangerous game of secrets.
But they also mention her resilience and this fundamental desire for real love underneath it all.
It's interesting how both are under pressure, isn't it? Christian internally with his issues and Gianna externally with her circumstances plus that internal longing.
A potent mix, definitely. Which leads us right into the plot points your source material lays out and talks about this dangerous game of secrets defining Gianna's life, especially with Antonio Marino.
Right. The sources really emphasize that her life is built on the shaky ground of deception because of that strategic marriage.
And then Christian reappears and boom, tension, unspoken longing. It's described as an intricate dance. Lots of undercurrents.
And that precarious setup, it gets completely shattered by what the sources call the weight of betrayal.
Ah, yes. This is where Gianna discovers Antonio's infidelity. And not just with anyone, but with her best friend, Sydney.
Yeah, the material highlights that this isn't just, hurtful. It shatters her world, makes her question her own self-worth. Big time.
And in that really raw moment, her connection with Christian, already tense, becomes, what did the source call it, a forbidden yet irresistible lifeline.
Exactly. That betrayal is the catalyst, according to these sources. It propels her toward a path of self-destruction and longing.
Self-destruction and longing. Wow. That suggests it's not just pain, but it sends her spinning towards potentially dangerous choices, with a need for something real gets tangled up with maybe self-sabotage.
That connection the source draws, external betrayal, internal collapse, feels really key for her character arc. It drives what happens next.
And speaking of choices driven by circumstance, the material also mentions another marriage for Gianna, a marriage of convenience.
Right. It says she strategically marries Richard Marino, significantly older, the text notes.
And the reason? Purely protection and security within the Cosa Nostra world, as the source puts it. It's presented as a necessary shield.
Not about love at all, but here's the conflict the sources point out. Her growing feelings for Christian directly threaten this safety net she's built.
He represents what she truly wants, passion, connection, but also what she fears could destroy the security she's bargained for. It's quite the bind.
So she's made this high-stakes deal for safety, but her heart's pulling her towards Christian, which is arguably even riskier territory.
And then, adding another layer, we get the return of the past. Christian comes back to New York.
Which, according to the material, immediately reignites his obsession with Gianna. But he's also dealing with his own past secrets threatening to consume him.
He's not just grappling with feelings for her. He's navigating the underworld's treacherous waters. That phrase from the source implies serious danger. His past is tied up in it somehow.
And his connection to Gianna at this point, the source material describes it as both a beacon, maybe hope, and a shadow, something dark, consuming.
His unresolved history looms large, complicating everything. It's not just romance, it's tangled with danger and his own demons.
All these pressures colliding Gianna's situation, the betrayal, her strategic marriage, Christian's return, his past, their pull towards each other, it leads to what the sources call a tangle of emotions.
The boiling point. Desire, denial, anger, longing, secrets, all blurring the lines between love and hate for both of them.
And the material suggests this emotional chaos makes them really vulnerable. They're losing control, setting the stage for big confrontations.
Which brings us neatly to the turning points and revelations highlighted in your source material. First up, confrontations and confessions.
This sounds like the moment things break open. The truth of Christian's feelings comes out, forcing them both to face the reality of, well, whatever it is between them.
The sources frame it as secrets revealed, confessions made, a decision point. Embrace the chaos or walk away.
Apparently, this chapter is explicitly called the turning point in the material. They have to deal with the uncertainty and this undeniable pull.
And the source highlights a specific scene here, a tense reunion in rain. Very visual.
Yeah, it describes them in a rain-soaked park confronting these feelings, and Christian finally admits it, he can't let her go. He lays bare the depth of his feelings.
And despite everything, the tension, her doubts, which are totally understandable, the source says Gianna is undeniably drawn to him in that moment.
It's pinpointed as a key moment where they both acknowledge the intensity of their bond, and the material really underscores the power of vulnerability in their messy situation.
That image in the rain, him confessing, it feels like an anchor for the emotional shift.
Vulnerability does seem to be the key here, according to these sources. The next big revelation is called Secrets Unveiled, Hearts Laid Bare.
Okay, and this is where Christian shares his traumatic childhood. Abuse, violence, the source mentions.
Yes, he tells Gianna. And her reaction, as described, is complex. Her heart breaks for the boy he was, but she also sees the man he's become despite it.
So his vulnerability brings them closer.
Significantly closer, the source says. It allows them to confront some of his core demons that affect their relationship. The material calls this moment pivotal, highlighting trust and openness as essential for building a lasting bond.
It connects their potential future directly to being honest about their pain. That makes sense.
Building that kind of bond, especially from such rough beginnings, it leads to the next phase the sources call moving forward.
After all that emotional intensity, Christian proposes. A proposal and a test.
Unexpectedly, yeah. And the source says it's driven mainly by his desire to protect her, keep her safe.
And Gianna's reaction.
Taken aback, unsure. After everything, committing to someone she feels she still doesn't fully know, despite his confession, it's a struggle.
So his proposal is both comfort, protection, and a challenge commit to him.
Exactly. She's grappling with her feelings, her fear of losing herself, repeating mistakes. This chapter, the analysis says, really dives into the complexities of commitment and the risks of love after trauma.
Her internal battle sounds just as fierce as the external stuff.
Totally. The source material calls this phase love and fear intertwined. She's torn between her love for Christian and this deep fear of getting hurt again.
But she starts to see past the fear.
According to the source, yes. Through reflection, she recognizes how deep her feelings are, the possibility for happiness he represents despite the risks. She realizes love is a risk, but the potential joy might outweigh the fear.
And this is her turning point towards acceptance.
Yeah.
Towards commitment.
That's what the material suggests.
Yeah.
It leads her towards accepting their bond and trying for a future together.
Which brings us to the final stage outlined. A new life begins.
Yeah.
And this involves a pregnancy.
Gianna discovers she's pregnant. The source material describes this bringing both excitement and anxiety. Understandable.
And Christian's reaction.
Joy and relief, apparently, which the sources say really solidifies their bond. They start preparing for the child, embracing the challenges and joys.
So their love, having gone through so much, becomes the foundation.
A foundation of strength and hope for an uncertain future is how the material puts it. It marks the start of a new phase for them as a couple, and soon, a family.
Okay, so let's pull back and synthesize the bigger themes the analysis in your sources identifies.
Right. Core themes mentioned are love, power dynamics, redemption, vulnerability, and trust. all playing out pretty intensely.
And the source material specifically uses Christian's journey to explore that fine line between love and obsession, right? How his addictive traits affect his feelings for Gianna.
Definitely. And critically, the analysis emphasizes the transformative power of vulnerability and trust.
The idea that confronting your past, like Christian does, is essential to actually move forward and build real connections. Healing linked to honesty.
Yeah. So putting it all together, the overarching message from these sources seems to be about resilience, surviving hardship.
And the power of love, not as a magic fix maybe, but as a force for change. Plus forgiveness, personal growth.
Even after being deeply wounded. Which leads to a good question for you, the listener, based on everything we've unpacked from your sources today.
What insights does exploring this story through this specific lens offer about relationships formed under intense pressure, trauma, secrets?
Yeah, what does it suggest about overcoming past pain or navigating choices driven by such strong emotions and difficult circumstances? Makes you think about the baggage we all carry, doesn't it?
It really does. The depth of the struggles described is, well, significant.
So given all these complexities, the wounds, the betrayal, the control issues described in the source material, what does this story ultimately suggest?
Is love, even a love starting tangled like this, really powerful enough to heal those deep wounds, to break those ingrained patterns of control and betrayal?
A compelling question to ponder, for sure.
Read it or skip it. You decide.